The hotel suite smelled of old money and stale air conditioning. Ethan could feel the script pages sticking to his damp palms. Across from him, his agent paced on the plush carpet. "It's a prestige project, Ethan. The director owes me. You owe me." Ethan didn't look up from the dense block of text. A love scene. Another one. Page 73 was just a long paragraph describing tangled limbs and desperate breaths. He was a character actor and Oscar winner before 30. This wasn't a career move. It was a surrender. "It's a gay love story," he stated flatly. "It's a psychological thriller about obsession." His agent corrected, a well-practiced line. "The love story is just the vehicle. And the other lead is confirmed. It's Caleb." That name did make Ethan look up. Caleb Reed. A face from a forgotten era of bubblegum pop, now drifting through minor television roles. Ethan had seen him once years ago in a music video. All bright eyes and a smile that seemed genuine. He'd vanished shortly after. "Caleb Reed? He's perfect for it," the agent finished. "Director only wants straight actors. Says it creates a necessary tension. You'll be fine. You're a professional." The set of their first scene was a stiflingly realistic replica of a billionaire's yacht stateroom. Gold leaf and dark wood. Ethan stood in the center, feeling the rough hemp of the ropes binding his wrists, the chill of the air on the fake wounds painted across his chest. The director, a man with sharp eyes named Miller, was murmuring last-minute instructions. Caleb entered. He was shorter than Ethan expected, dressed in a tailored suit that cost more than a car. His hair was perfectly disheveled, glasses perched on his nose. He didn't look at Ethan. He seemed to be turning himself into someone else, his shoulders drawing back, his mouth thinning into a cruel line. The clapperboard snapped. Ethan was on his knees. Caleb's polished loafer pressed against his sternum, a cold, deliberate weight. The scripted words, cruel and mocking, fell from Caleb's lips with a quiet, terrifying conviction. Ethan felt a real spark of anger. This faded pop star was good. He threw his head back, defiance in his eyes, the way his character would. The script called for Caleb to grab his chin. Then the kiss. Ethan had braced for awkwardness, for a stiff meeting of lips. What he got was a sudden, consuming pressure. Caleb's mouth was on his, not tentative but assured, a shocking invasion of heat and motion. Ethan's brain short-circuited. He forgot to react, to struggle. "Cut." Miller's voice was a whip. "Ethan, you look like you've been struck by lightning. You're supposed to be furious." And Caleb, less passion, more contempt. "This is a punishment, not a reunion." Ethan touched his lips, which felt strangely swollen. He glanced at Caleb, who was being powdered by makeup, his expression unreadable. Later, in the narrow hallway beside the craft services table, Ethan found him. "Hey, that was intense. For a first take." Caleb looked up, those once famous eyes now guarded. "Sorry, I get carried away. Method, you know?" He offered a small, fragile smile. "Don't worry. I'm straight. It's just acting." Ethan nodded, the logic fitting the director's bizarre philosophy. A straight man would overcompensate, wouldn't he? Make it too rough, too real to prove a point. They tried the scene again, and again. Each time, Caleb's kiss was a deliberate assault, leaving Ethan's mouth tingling and sore. Each time, Miller was dissatisfied. The hatred isn't there. It's just hunger. By the seventh take, Ethan was frustrated. When Caleb's foot pressed down, a real, sharp anger flared. When the kiss came, Ethan bit back. Literally. His teeth caught Caleb's lower lip, and he tasted the metallic tang of fake blood capsule. The shove he gave Caleb was real, the contempt in his voice unfeigned. "You pathetic creature." "Cut." "Yes." Finally, Miller beamed. In the quiet of his trailer that night, Ethan replayed the moment. The shock in Caleb's eyes had been real. The thrum of adrenaline in his own veins was real. He told himself it was just good acting. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Caleb stood there, changed into a simple t-shirt and jeans, hair soft. He looked younger, more like the ghost of that pop star. "Can we run lines for the next sequence?" Ethan let him in. The next sequence was another kiss, different in context but just as physical. They sat on the small couch, a script between them like a shared secret. "I'm not very good at this," Caleb admitted, his fingers tracing the dialogue. "The intimacy. Feels like I'm faking it." "It's called acting," Ethan said, but his tone was gentle. "Can we practice? Like just the mechanics?" Ethan considered him. The famous Caleb Reed, asking for kissing lessons. The absurdity of it was almost charming. "Okay, start simple." What followed wasn't simple. Caleb initiated, a brush of lips against Ethan's forehead, then his temple. It was clinical, studious. But as they moved, a strange focus settled over Caleb. His breathing changed. When their mouths finally met, the practiced, mechanical motion slowly dissolved into something warmer, deeper. Ethan found himself responding, guiding, his hand coming up to cradle Caleb's jaw. When they broke apart, the air in the trailer was thick. Ethan was acutely aware of the narrow space between their bodies, of a heat that had nothing to do with the poor ventilation. "See?" Caleb said, his voice slightly hoarse. "Just technique." The next major hurdle was a love scene. Not a violent kiss, but something slower, more exposed. In the dimly lit set of a penthouse bedroom, under the sheets, Ethan could feel Caleb trembling beside him. "Just relax," Ethan murmured, the words slipping out before he could filter them. I'm not exactly comfortable with this either." It was a lie, but it felt like the right thing to say. Caleb stilled. "You're not?" "No. So we're in the same boat. Let's just get through it." The director called action. In the fiction of the scene, their characters were reconciling, a desperate collision of bodies and forgiven betrayals. Ethan moved as scripted, his body covering Caleb's. He could feel the frantic beat of Caleb's heart through both their costumes. Caleb's eyes were wide, not with acting, but with a naked, vulnerable fear that turned, under the hot lights, into something else. A surrender. A welcome. The scene was raw, electric. When Miller finally called cut, there was a stunned silence on set. Ethan rolled away, his own pulse hammering. He'd gotten lost in it. He'd forgotten the cameras, the crew. He'd only seen Caleb. He avoided Caleb for 2 days after that. The production moved to shoot their characters' separate lives. Ethan's character brooded in sleek, minimalist offices. Caleb's attended glittering charity galas in Los Angeles, pretending to negotiate a marriage of convenience with a senator's daughter. Miller showed Ethan photos from Caleb's set. Caleb smiling with the actress, his arm around her. A cold, heavy stone settled in Ethan's gut. He's straight, he reminded himself. This is his normal. This is his world. When they reunited for the final, most emotionally complex love scene, Ethan was distant. He performed the choreography of passion, the kisses, the touches, with a hollow technical precision. Caleb responded with a growing desperation, his hands clinging, his whispers of scripted love sounding like pleas. "Cut!" Miller roared. "What is this? Ice sculpture and a weeping willow? I need fire. I need the fucking contradiction. You hate him, but you can't let him go." During the reset, Caleb approached him, his costume disheveled. "What's wrong?" His voice was low, hurt. "Nothing. Let's just do our jobs." "Is it because of the photos? From the gala?" "Ethan, that was work." "It's all work, Caleb," Ethan said, the words biting. The next take, something in Caleb broke. Or ignited. His character's love twisted into a furious, possessive thing. His kisses were bruising, his grip punishing. And Ethan, sparked by his own confused jealousy, met him with equal ferocity. It was no longer a performance. It was a collision, a confession without words. When the scene reached its scripted climax, Ethan held Caleb so tightly, He thought he might leave marks, and felt a hot tear slide from Caleb's eye onto his own neck. The room was utterly silent after Miller's quiet cut. Later, in the privacy of Ethan's rented house, they didn't speak. Caleb just looked at him, his actor's mask gone, leaving only exhaustion and a quiet hope. Ethan crossed the room and kissed him. It was different from all the others. It was a choice. After the film wrapped, they drifted into a secret rhythm. Drives along the Pacific Coast Highway, quiet dinners at secluded restaurants, weekends in cabins near Big Sur where no one knew their faces. Ethan told himself it was a continuation of the fiction, a slow decompression from the characters they'd inhabited. Caleb never pushed for definitions, but his quiet devotion was a constant, humming presence. The film, titled Gilded Cage, was released to a niche streaming service after a fierce battle with the ratings board. To everyone's shock, it was nominated for major independent awards. The chemistry between Ethan and Caleb was the subject of breathless film blog essays and fan-s. Ethan watched them, a strange pride mixed with dread. His phone rang. It was his mother. The conversation was the same as always. His brother's tuition, the mortgage, the implication that his success was a family bank account. He ended the call feeling hollow. This was his reality. The fairy tale with Caleb was just that, a temporary escape into a role. He began to pull away. He stopped returning Caleb's texts promptly. He canceled plans. He was preparing the ground for an ending he thought was inevitable. A man found him at a coffee shop. He had Ethan's eyes and Caleb's stubborn chin.
"I'm Marcus."
Caleb's brother. He slid an envelope across the table. "There's a check in there. A significant one. I think it would be best for everyone if you and my brother took some permanent space." Ethan stared at the envelope. This was it. The real world intruding, clean and financial. He took it. "And if Caleb doesn't agree?" Marcus sighed, looking suddenly tired. "That's between you and him. I'm just doing what I think a brother should." Though for the record, he added, digging into his briefcase and pulling out a pristine Gilded Cage Blu-ray, "Could you sign this? For my wife. She's a huge fan." Ethan signed, utterly bewildered. When Caleb returned from a promotional trip, he found Ethan in the living room, the unopened envelope on the coffee table. Caleb's face fell, reading the silent message. "So that's it?" Caleb's voice was barely a whisper. "Your family," Ethan started. "My family is insane," Caleb said, but he didn't move closer. "The check. Do you want it?" "No." "Then what do you want, Ethan?" The question hung in the air, heavy and final. Ethan had no script for this. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know what's real. Was it just the movie?" Caleb finally walked toward him, but stopped a few feet away. "You think I'm that good an actor?" He gave a sad, choked laugh. "Ethan, I've had a crush on you since I was 19 and saw you in Winter's Ground. I took this role because it was the only way I thought I could ever get you to look at me. All that I'm straight talk, that was the acting." The confession landed like a physical blow. Ethan saw the last decade of his own life, the calculated career moves, the lonely accolades, and then he saw Caleb, a steady, patient light he'd been too blind or too afraid to see. The roles were reversed. Caleb had never been the one who needed help leaving the fiction behind. Ethan closed the distance between them. He didn't kiss him. He just rested his forehead against Caleb's.
"I'm sorry."
"I'm an idiot." "Yeah," Caleb breathed, a tremor of hope in the word. "You are." The dinner at the Caleb's family home was a surreal masterpiece. Marcus glowered from the head of the table. Caleb's mother, a vibrant woman with artist's hands, spent the entire meal beaming at them, whispering to Caleb's father about shipping and canon. Caleb's father, a stern-faced former studio executive, grilled Ethan about his 5-year career plan. Ethan tried to explain to absolve Caleb. "Sir, I want you to know this wasn't Caleb's fault. The movie, things got blurred. He's been incredibly professional." Caleb's mother let out a devastated groan. "No, don't say it's not real. My beautiful OTP. Marcus, however, looked immensely pleased. Later, Caleb's mother pulled Ethan aside, her eyes gleaming. Come here. I need to show you something. She led him to a locked door at the end of a hallway. With a theatrical flourish, she unlocked it. It was a guest room, but it had been transformed. The walls were covered, not with posters of Caleb Reed, the pop star, but with magazine clippings, film stills, and candid shots of Ethan Hayes from every stage of his career. There was a shelf with every film he'd ever been in on every format. On the bed lay a throw pillow with Ethan's face from his Oscar nomination photo. He's been like this since he was a teenager, his mother whispered, her voice full of fond exasperation. Too shy to write a fan letter, too proud to use the family name to meet you. He went into acting just to maybe one day share a set with you. All that helping you nonsense. Sweetheart, he was helping himself to a dream he'd had for half his life. Ethan stood in the center of the shrine, not to a celebrity, but to the man he'd been, the man he was. It wasn't obsession. It was a map of a long, quiet devotion. He found Caleb outside on the patio, staring at the city lights, shoulders slumped as if waiting for a verdict. Ethan walked up behind him and wrapped his arms around his waist, resting his chin on Caleb's shoulder. He felt Caleb tense, then melt back into him with a shuddering sigh. I saw the room, Ethan murmured. Caleb stiffened. Oh God, I can explain, don't. Ethan turned him around. The neon glow from the pool painted Caleb's face in soft blues and pinks. You really are a terrible actor. All this time, I thought you were just dedicated to the role. Caleb's eyes searched his. And now? Now I think I'd like to audition for a new role. The one where I'm yours. He kissed him then, a kiss that held no camera, no director, no script. It was a promise and a beginning. From the living room window, Marcus groaned. Caleb's father shook his head, muttering about quarterly earnings reports. Caleb's mother snapped a quick picture, her smile brighter than all the lights of Los Angeles below.